Welcome back to SportsCall here on Tiger 95.9. Ryan Lavoie, JJ Jackson with you from Radio Row in Tampa. It's SEC Media Days, and we are now pleased to be joined by the commissioner of the Southeastern Conference, Greg Sankey. Greg Sankey, we appreciate you so much for coming on today, Commissioner. How are you doing?
I'm well. Thanks for making the trip, and hopefully Tampa's been a good city for you so far.
Very much so. I have traveled to a bunch of Bucks games, and so I'm pretty familiar with the city. It's been a lot of fun to be down here, and we'll also be excited to be in Nashville again next year, as announced the other day. But, Commissioner, obviously a lot to talk about. Want to start with playoff because that's a topic that everyone all year round like to discuss. And I'm curious, not even in where we are in the process right now, but let's say we come to a result, either end of this year, next year, whatever it be, on to expand or stay at 12. Will we just end up doing this again right afterwards? I mean, it just feels like it's never a satisfying conclusion.
So I want to give you credit because no one's asked the question that way with that expectation. But I think there is some truth to the observation. In fact, each time I've answered what's going to happen with the playoff, my view is we need to get to an answer, and that be the answer. Because when we went from 4 to 12, it was basically immediate that the numbers 14 and 16 were introduced. And then a year goes by, and then it's 24, 28, and all this AQ talk. So my desire is to answer the 5 or 6 questions that I think are central that I identified in my remarks on Monday when we opened Media Days, and I'm happy to walk through those, and then make the judgment collectively, do we expand in what number or not? And when we do that, for that to be the answer for a period of time, so that we can focus on the playoff itself, getting the selection process right, because when you spend so much time on certain elements, others are not attended to. And then, as you note in the intro, there's a lot going on in college sports, and if we can resolve one issue, let's resolve it and move on to the next.
Sure, it is kind of a one-at-a-time approach. It would be nice to always knock out 2 birds with one stone, but sometimes it can't be done that way. Yeah. One of the things of note, though, is this will be the first year that 9-game schedule for the league, and we talked about that last year and how it meant a lot to Auburn to keep rivals Alabama and Georgia in this model, but now everyone playing everyone at least every other year. But I'm also curious on your confidence level that the proper, adjudication from a playoff committee would take into effect the best league in the country is now adding another conference game, and just kind of where your confidence level is on that.
Well, you identify the question, and so when you look just at our decision to move to 9 games, it is the right decision for the league. And it is interesting, the commentary about we should stand on our own. Well, we make decisions based on what's right for the Southeastern Conference and the ability to preserve rivalries, rather than, where we're going to be was in a situation where certain important rivalries would be played once every other year. They'd still be played, but you'd lose that annual basis. Or if you stayed at 8 games, you'd then be gerrymandering your schedule, if you would, where certain teams would have 2 annual games, other teams might have 1. I think everybody had at least 1, and now you've created inequities in the schedule. And what we've done by moving to 9 games is taken a huge disparity for winning percentage across the league, and we've narrowed that greatly. Like from about 25%, which is in a 8-game schedule, 25% of the schedule is 2 games. So that's 2 wins, 2 losses for your opponents versus less than 1 and a 9% winning percent variance in the 9-game schedule. But we are attached to the postseason. We had what I've described as an unsatisfactory conversation with the college football playoff in Destin. There are some new metrics around strength of schedule, strength of record, the contemplation of strength of conference, but those have to be used in the selection process by the human beings. Perhaps outcomes this fall motivate us to change our position on playoff expansion. We'll see, but there's a lot of intersection between a 9-game schedule, college football playoff selection, and what might the format look like in the future.
as we look at media days here, it's always awesome to have the opportunity to look forward to a season, but also everything that just happened over this past year. And you circle it back to our neck of the woods, and they're on the plains in Auburn celebrating the highs and lows of many wins and losses, and the men's golf team on their way to another national championship, but also in your remarks, the loss that we've had along the way with someone within the Auburn media world and Phillip Marshall, who passed away.
We kind of reminded of late that it seems every time we show up, there's some, at media days, there's some loss of somebody who's become part of the family, whether they're conference staff, on our campuses and university athletic programs, or part of the media coverage. And you think about Phillip's long history with the league, and like we lost Mark Womack back in October, and I worked with Mark for 23 years, and tell me about the Skywriters tour. And man, there were stories that it's good social media didn't exist, where somebody had a little bit too much fun in one city, didn't make the flight to the next one. But Phillip goes back, not that he was part of any of those stories, but just goes back to the media engagement, involvement, progressing through media days. There were always Hoover, and then as we've moved around a little bit, and we're reminded of the preciousness of life and the importance that people make in this unique Southeastern Conference dynamic.
And then just the Auburn athletics year as a whole for a golf program, 2 national championships over the last few seasons.
Well, you can't say enough about what's happened in that program to perform at such a high level over time, and really to overcome some of the struggles in the Athens regional tracking. And I guess some people had not felt well, but didn't play at the level, and then to regroup and play so well in that final was pretty cool. And then to watch Jackson, it was interesting to watch him as an amateur in pro events play well, and to see him in the U.S. Open at Shinnecock almost immediately after the national championship, and now to watch him perform at a pro level, and then see what happens is when you perform at this level, you create really positive momentum, right? And so I follow a little bit of recruiting, not completely, and the opportunities are great in the future. And you look across the board, the baseball team's season, it ended sooner than people wanted. You make a coaching change at the beginning of the year in men's basketball, yet finish with momentum through the NIT, the rebuilding in women's basketball. I mean, there's a lot of good momentum that's present, and a great university.
And Commissioner Sankey, we'll kind of close with this, another one of the big picture items dominating the headlines right now, and conference championship games. And obviously this is the league that pioneered that. I don't know how much it doesn't weigh on you that this is the league that created it. It theoretically could be the league to start the trend to end it, or it could try to salvage it moving forward. But just what kind of attention is being paid to that, and what potential factors will go into that?
We talked about it a bit last year. We talked about it intentionally in February with our football coaches and athletics directors, because regardless of CFP expansion or not, even at 12, the question exists about should we or should we not continue with the conference championship game. And we've obviously decided through the first few years of the college football playoff going from 4 to 12 to continue. We have contracts, we have agreements, we have revenue that's tied to the championship game. So just discontinuing it is not a simple thing. So your question is a fair one about, I'll be honest, does it weigh on me that we created it? Yes. And Roy Kramer, who passed away last year, was the commissioner when it was created. I had some candid conversations with him about the expectations and pressures changing. I think we want to be careful. If the CFP does expand, it probably generates the momentum for change. But we'll have a continuing discussion about, even at 12, are we disadvantaging ourselves by continuing the conference championship game? I don't think so necessarily, but in a 9-game environment, what we have done is we took our football schedule where only the top 2 teams played 9 games. Not everybody played 9 games, but we've added the 10th for 2 teams. All of those kind of observations will inform the conversation leading to a decision I would expect early next year for the 2027 year.
Tell me this, Commissioner. I mean, you were one of the figures that people turn to when they think about all the changes in college athletics. You started your career as a director of intramural athletics. What from those days do you still recall and maybe help you navigate things like this?
I recall a lot. In fact, interestingly enough, last week I was in my hometown. My wife and I went to dinner. Our dinner, and it was close to her birthday, so we called it her birthday dinner. It was interrupted by four phone calls, 3 members of Congress, and a university president. And then we walked the sidewalk where she had moved there late in junior high and high school. We started dating in 83. We'd walked that sidewalk hundreds of times. And John Calipari called me that night, too, because he'd been in conversation with some members of Congress. And I said to my wife, like, could you ever have imagined, like, back in 83, 84, that we'd be in this circumstance, we'd be back here, and I'd be taking calls from members of Congress and John Calipari. But the opportunity provided me in my first job at Utica College, then Utica University now, it allowed me to pursue my master's degree at Syracuse on remitted tuition. I think that was so important in my career. After 2 years, launched to Northwestern State University as an intern, $500 a month, moved to Natchitoches, Louisiana. My wife and I had been married 8 months. And really that first job running an intramural program was a great lesson that when you're a college student like 19 and 20 years old and you can win a $3.65 intramural champion T-shirt, you will pull your best friend's arm out of his or her socket to win that T-shirt. And it shouldn't surprise us that we have ethical challenges when national championships are on the line based on that experience.
He is the commissioner of the Southeastern Conference, Greg Sankey, with us today. Commissioner Sankey, we certainly appreciate the time. We appreciate that you do this each and every year with us, and all the best as you navigate these very big waters.
No, well, thank you for being here. We appreciate the opportunity for an interaction and the energy that it brings to what we do, and look forward to the season ahead.
That is Commissioner Greg Sankey with us today on Sports Call.